Hey, this is Fluff and Stuff. I'm going to be doing a short video about Chen. This is my very first game with Chen on the patch. It's quite old and I made a couple mistakes, but in general it's here for to give you some good tips, help you improve your own play, and just kind of analyze myself here. And I'm doing this for Michael Bayer. So he requested it from me on Twitter. Sorry it took so long. I kind of get really nervous about this. I haven't ever recorded something and put it out there like this, but here's my first attempt. And I've gone through so many takes, I'm just gonna go ahead and roll with this one, right? Because I just want to get the product done. Alright, so here we are, it's just a pub. This was probably on the first or second day since the patch. And the changes that I'm aware of are that you get a creep at every level of Test of Faith, and you also get, oh no, not Test of Faith, Holy Persuasion, and then you also get the teleportation on the Test of Faith. There we go. Now, before we start, I'm gonna do pause real quick just to explain the early builds and all this stuff. Typically, Chen, since he jungles, he's fairly item independent, and he's also fairly mana independent as well. So you don't need a ton of clarities like an Enigma, let's say, or a Soul Ring. You don't necessarily need too much. So in general, I recommend buying the Courier and the Wards, and then maybe topping it off with a Smoke or a Sentry. I actually forgot what I did here, but let's see.
Better get ready.
And I remember asking someone for a Smoke as well, and then he just pops it. So our support co-op, MGW, pops one of my smokes early game, but that's fine. Oh yeah, and I like to buy the Tangos, and I don't really need them because obviously your creeps are going to be tanking the majority of things. So I just pass them over to the mid, both my Tangos. The other support doesn't have to worry about that. I generally like 2 clarities, but you can get away with 1. And I bought my own smoke here. But let's say if it was maybe a competitive game, I might have made room for a Sentry. So what actually happened was I was asking the Queen of Pain to pull me a smoke, but since he popped it in the beginning, I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna buy a smoke. And then once I walked out of the base, he gave me another one. But ordinarily, I would have had a Sentry bot as well, plus that smoke from the other support. But that's fine. Pubs generally don't, ward your camps or do anything like 5-man rotations into the jungle. Intricate things like that. I should be able to make do. So I just placed one of these arbitrary wards. It doesn't really matter. It can be here, it could be in the safe lane, it can be in the off lane, doesn't matter. The first important thing that you want to do is you want to go out to check the rune, threaten the enemy here, the off laner,
Radiant on one side,
and then you want
the
to
other.
go into your jungle. Typically on the Radiant side and the Dire side, I like to start on the far corner, so it's like this and here. So with this first camp, I am gonna just take whatever creep I get. I'm gonna clear off this camp, and depending on what creep I get, I like to stack this. I'm actually playing this pretty badly since it's my first Chen in a long time. Ideally on Radiant side, you start up here, and when the first creep spawn at 30, you attack from the low ground with the enchanted creep. After you kill that, you send your controlled creep here and your hero here, and you stack this at 53, and then here you pull this at 55. And what that does is it creates more opportunities for you to start jungling more efficiently, and also it helps your team if you don't end up clearing it. But most of the creeps that you will get can clear these camps, like Ursa's. Trolls are a little bit tougher, but you can do it easily. And Wildkins especially are the ones that really make a big difference. So in this game, my game plan was just to get Test of Faith to level 3, at level 3 rank 2, and then go for some type of gank, because that's when the nuking potential is pretty high for early game kills. But I kind of realized the error in my way. So here normally I would have stacked this before proceeding to kill the camp, but what I did was I just tried to clear it and then take a creep so I can go gank with my 3. And then you see here I leveled up my Test of Faith, which was a mistake. I should have leveled up my Holy Persuasion because obviously it gives you 2 units, and that's pretty imbalanced. But well, not imbalanced, but it's for Chen, it's very unexpectedly high tempo. What ends up happening is that I realize that sorry. No, I do still go for the gank. I'm not sure why I waited. Maybe I was looking at the lane position. But in general, you want to smoke when you have around 2 creeps. It's fairly consistent. And you just take a normal path. You come mid. Say TC, go Gale him. You don't necessarily need to net right away. And just finish it off.
No use crying.
Now, if I was better micro, I could have netted the courier and got the kill. But I'm gonna blame being rusty.
First time for everything.
And also not having 2 creeps, that's a big mistake.
Extinction. Punished for your sins.
So in general, you're almost always gonna see like this type of early gameplay from a Chen or Enchantress. It almost always works if you coordinate with your team, and it's really important that you have that type of voice communication, or at least some type of emote, just like chat wheel, ding ding ding, I'm going, etc. Anyway, one of the biggest mistakes that I see Chens make is that when they get low like that, you saw I was within 1 hit range and low mana, they go back to base with their hero. I find that pretty unnecessary because a lot of times I do this with my support heroes, even if they're not junglers. I'll just buy myself a salve and then I'll just take care of myself. I mean, there's no reason for me to back, it's just inefficient. And if I'm wasting the courier's time, like, I don't know, your teammates are jerks. But, sometimes there are times they're like, oh, I need a bottle grow. Just let your teammates do their thing with the items and then go ahead and take your stuff. That's what happened here. TC got his bottle, then I took myself. So this is where I learned that I can persuade 2 units. So like now normally I would just like do as much damage as I can, kill the units, and then I would persuade this right before this was gonna die. But when I persuaded, I was like, holy crap, this creep didn't die, what the hell's going on? And I still didn't notice, so actually at level 3 is when I noticed, rank 3 is when I noticed this change. So that's just me being kind of careless, but the idea is still there. If I had realized that, I would have, just taken it. I also would have taken another creep before I went for this gank, but I'm looking at mid, I see a free kill. I say, go, I'm gonna set up behind you. When he shows, just go ahead and Gale. And I just go for the easy free kill. Alright. And I like to play a fairly gank-oriented Chen in pubs, just because number 1, people don't counter gank or help each other. Number 2, usually there's a lot more easier to gank matchups middle, like I don't have to deal with pucks or anything like that. It's like a draw ranger mid, it's such an easy kill. And number 3, it helps snowball the momentum a lot quicker, because you demoralize your opponents with such early pressure. And in fact, it's the strongest that you'll ever be in the game, so the fact that you can do it in a pub is fairly important. You see my item choice here, I went for the Ring of Basilius. This is a personal choice. Some people like to go straight boots into mech, some people like going Arcane Boots into mech. I like having the Basilius because it helps me snowball my pushing. I also I have a bit of OCD with my creeps, and I like to keep their HPs pretty high, so the armor helps me jungle, keep sane. And I enjoy the passive regen, because if you go boots into mech, a lot of times you won't have this mana regen that you kind of want, and you'll have to constantly bring yourself out clarities, which is more efficient, but at the same time, I'm lazy. And there are benefits to the Basil. So anyway, generally I like going into Basil, Arcane, Then I like getting my mech, and then I would probably go into Blink Ags. Would be my build, because you can do the Blink Test of Faith and all that stuff. So I didn't actually want to go through all the steps of this game, because obviously it was only a 20-minute game, but at the same time I'm not going to make a 20-minute video because people want it to be concise.
How about that?
But then again, there's so much to this hero and I'm trying my best. So
Mid towers having
microing.
difficulty.
Microing. Actually, I'll just have this in the background. There are a lot of ways to micro in Dota 2, but I'll tell you the way that I learned to micro, which is
buildings are tough as nails for now.
I put my hero on 1, I put my
mid-tower could use a little
creeps
help.
on 2, 3, 4, 5, and then eventually I'll have all the creeps plus my hero on hotkey
Dive's
6.
mid-tower won't last much
So actually, it
longer.
might be better if I just demonstrate this in a game. So let's go ahead and just open a practice lobby. Now let's see. I just want to show you how I actually go about microing creeps and how to spread them and all this stuff. Main idea is that I like having full control of every unit that I have, and this is a habit I gained from playing
Do what
Warcraft
you
3.
have to do.
Because in Warcraft 3, it was very micro-intensive. Not like StarCraft, but it was micro-intensive in that there were a lot of single units like centaurs, or your Ursas, pretty much, that have like sub abilities, and they were quite tanky, so you had to learn how to control the units individually.
The persecution.
But I know there are other ways, like you can hotkey all your units
Better
to.
get ready.
It's really hard to actually type and be mindful of recording, but I'm trying my best. Alright, so
even more blessed.
now that's done.
The better to increase
I'm just gonna
my
level
flock.
up all my skills and head into the jungle. Oops. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so
May it please you.
there are more ways to micro, like using the all unit hotkey, select all unit hotkey. I do use those on occasion, but
Obelisk
in general this
guide
is
me.
my main micro technique.
My
I'm gonna go ahead and
faithful
clear
join
this.
me.
30 seconds to showtime.
Pass the tray. Yes.
Just gonna go ahead and get 4 units here so I can have a good spread for you.
Compelled. God willing.
I'll just copy and paste this to my clipboard.
In your name.
The game is on.
But anyway, to finish my thought, I'm gonna show you the way I do it,
The persecution starts
and
now.
that's all I can really say about it.
My congregation grows.
Alright, this is a pretty natural creep spread.
So I go.
Pretty good. So I do have a select all
Hallowed
units
ground.
hotkey, which is like F3, and I don't use it very often, so don't worry about that. I'm just gonna mention that for the sake of the video. So here we go.
As you say.
Control 1 my hero. So I hotkey my hero, always ready to use it. Then I'm gonna go 2, Control 3, Control 4, Control 5, all on Control 6. So that means I can control every unit individually, right? This gives me a lot more options.
Yes.
And it'll give you a lot more options as well once you start mastering the hero. But the main idea of the priority system is that whenever you think about your creeps and chaining its abilities with your ganks, you want to think about the order in which you do it. So for me, and probably for everyone else, when you look at all 4 of these creeps, you got the Ursas, you got the Troll, and you got the Welkin. You're obviously going to lead with the Troll.
Leap of faith.
You're going to go in and you're going to queue for net. Then you're going to come in, you're going to queue with the Ursa, the other Ursa, and then at the end of it, if you have time, you're gonna go ahead and tornado. You don't have to tornado immediately. It's not a game changer. It's not bursty in any way. It's more of a sieging type defensive ability. So you don't really have to worry about that too much, unless you care really much for the slow. But yeah, I still don't recommend it. So I'm like this. I'm walking around with all my units.
Teams biding their time.
See if I can create a hero. There we go. Whoops. Yeah, here we go. Gotta move him out of danger. Alright. So this is my push. I'm gonna have him walk in.
A fine mess we got here.
That's too much. I'm just gonna have him doing a normal jog. So I come in here, I press 6 for all my units. I see the kill. I right click on it with all my units. I go 2Q, 3Q, 4Q, 5Q, and then after that I'm gonna go ahead and cast my stuff. You know, it looks funny because I'm level 25, but typically you're gonna be peaking when you have no points in your queue. So it would still be like that where you go for ahead and do the new class, but when you have the queue, you'd probably do something like queuing a bit earlier. You know, you'd go like Q, 2, 3, Q, 4, Q, 5 Q, boom. And you make sure all your units are attacking.
You got it. So I go.
So anyway, there's that, and then one of the most impressive things, which I forgot to buy Blink Dagger, was the ability to teleport your units around with you. So
as Obelisk directs,
if you press your E ability on yourself, depending on the level of the skill, the units are going to chase with you.
As you say. Blink Dagger.
Not chase with you. They're gonna have that delay. So at rank 1, it's gonna have a 6-second delay. Rank 2, 5 seconds. Rank 3, 4 seconds. Rank 3, 3 seconds.
God willing.
So you gotta be mindful of that. It's not always gonna be the same depending on the skill.
Your top tower's in trouble.
Anyway, so the main idea is that after you have the Arcane, your Blink, Arcane your Mech, and you get the Blink as your luxury item, you go ahead and just test your faith yourself. You can double click if you have it activated. You blink on top of your target, and then you just mob in 3, 4, Q4, 5Q, and you just go.
The other fella's aiming to wreck your bottom tower.
Faithless one.
That to me is an extremely cool change, and there are other like strategic ramifications or side effects of this buff, but unfortunately I don't really want to discuss it.
Guide me.
The main idea about that is like you just don't have this baggage. I remember thinking about like having to gank top, for example, and I'm like, oh, I'm at bottom, and like, wow, I'm gonna get there and help my team. Now it's as easy as just walking up there yourself and going ahead and do this. Not only that, but the pathing with mass units in Dota 2 is a bit odd. Like sometimes I'll be in the same location as my units, and let's say that I want to go here. Some units will like path this way, and some units will path this way.
In your name.
This just eliminates all these issues. But I would definitely say that Arcane Boots is core, because now more than ever this spell is really, really important to you to use offensively. So Chen's biggest weakness early on is just having the mana to cast everything. You want to use your Test of Faith, you want to control units, you want to cast your mech, you want to cast Hand of God. It's just too much. General tips I have for you guys is like, when your creeps are low, and let's see if I can get you an example of that. When your creeps are low, and you know that you're gonna get an objective or something like that, just go ahead and Hand of God them. It's not. I wouldn't advise that for newer players, since your team might get mad at you, but if you're more experienced, it's okay to Hand of God your creeps. Like honestly,
A healing hand.
a 200 heal level 6 is not
As Obelisk
amazing.
directs.
It's good for these clutch saves, but sometimes you can just gauge that, you know,
Faith is
it's
rewarded.
just better
In your
to
name.
keep your push going, and you don't necessarily need to heal 5 people on your team
Hallowed ground.
perfectly with this Hand of God. You can use it how you want.
Yes.
As far as like the axe goes, I haven't played around with it too much, but
May it
it's just a
please
late game
you.
luxury item, and I have to say that probably this creep is the best with the granite aura, which I've never read before.
Obelisk
I think that's
guide
the
me.
best ancient that you can get, because
A pious path.
generally you're going to be using these creeps in the late game, and what it does is
So I go.
it just creates another buff for your team and nothing more.
Scepter.
These units, they don't do a ton of physical damage, they don't
As you
push
say.
necessarily well, but they're tanky.
That top tower of
You
yours
can handle
ain't doing
Godam to
so
full.
good.
I'm not sure if you can send it home. I guess you can. That's pretty amazing.
Consecrated.
And
Your bottom tower's in a tight
it's
spot.
just there as a utility, pretty much.
Yes.
Late game creeps I would recommend are not Ursas.
Might
If you
wanna
ever get
check
Ursas
your
in late
bottom
game,
tower.
I would just suicide them. The attack speed aura
Unlearned.
is new, but at the same time, I still don't.
So I
Your
go.
bottom tower
I
ain't
still
long for
don't
this
advise
world.
it. And let's say that you get some useless creep like this that has no abilities.
Hallowed ground.
You want to shift your priority system now. You're gonna go 2 for your troll, 3
They're
for your
meaning to
Ursa, 4
smash
for your
that
Wildwing
bottom
Gripper,
tower of
and then
yours.
5
Think
for your
the
Granite
gods
Golem,
are
which
gonna
was the
help?
slot that your Wildwing took. Because now it's the easily the worst and least microable unit in your arsenal, and
Your mid
you want to
tower
just
ain't
constantly
doing
keep
too well.
updating that.
Leap of
And
faith.
I heavily
Ah,
recommend
well.
just clicking on your hotkeys every so often to make sure that the right unit's on the
Your
right
mid
thing.
tower's in a bit of a bind.
And you shouldn't really have a problem microing
God
them.
willing.
It might be daunting at first, and a lot of people ask me about how to micro well,
Obelisk
Your
guide
and
mid
I have to say
tower
that
needs a little help.
being good at micro just takes a lot of practice.
As
You know,
Obelisk
I wouldn't
directs.
consider myself an amazing micro player. Maybe a couple of years ago, but when I first started playing Chen, but just constantly going through the motions, you'll acquire the skill that you need to play the hero. So don't be afraid of it, and that goes for
Your bottom tower.
a lot of things like Invoker as well. Just don't be afraid to go for it. It takes time,
Yes.
and everybody starts at this baseline. Right, and you're not born a micro player or not a micro player unless you
May
have
it please you.
some type of health reason to believe that.
Worthy donation.
But anyway, yeah. So
Yes.
underrated creeps I would say are like the movement
Yes.
speed aura easy camp creep and the what is it? The frost armor creep. Those creeps
In your
are
name.
really big. And I wish I could pull the stats for you right now, but I know that
As
the
you
armor
say.
buff is quite significant, and the movement speed is going to be
A pious path.
game breaking at some points. But that's just me. So anyway,
Your mid tower's in a bit of a bind.
this was my first video of this kind, and I don't know exactly what type of information that you guys want, but I tried my best.
Hate
And
to be your mid tower
if you
right
have
about
more
now.
questions about Chen, you can go ahead and just message me at twitter.com/fluffdota, and I'll be happy to respond. And maybe if you have other requests as well, I can go ahead and do something similar to this and maybe make it a bit more concise. But yeah, I was just going with the motions, going through the motions, and no, I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, again, follow me on Twitter at fluffdota, twitter.com/fluffdota, and yeah, have a good day. I hope you guys really enjoyed the new Chen. It seems like a lot of fun.